Technically, it is up there, isn't it?
The Muscatine City Council will come to order.
It does.
Keep trying to help.
Fran, would you do a roll call, please?
We'll get on it and get
Okay,
some.
Councilmembers Raywalt,
Present.
Fitzgerald,
Present.
Nafig,
Present.
Shahade,
Present.
Bynum,
Present.
Phillips, Spread,
Present.
6 present and 1 absent, Your Honor.
Very good, Fran. Folks, good evening. Welcome to council chambers, and we'll begin with item number 2, public hearing concerning amendment number 1 of the 2014-2015 city budget. And Greg, I believe that you wanted to speak to this.
Yes, Your Honor. Nancy, you want to join me up? Yeah, we were just going to do it at the beginning of the night.
Change of plans.
We thought we'd just run through the budget at the beginning of the meeting real quick. You do have a copy on front. You can certainly follow along on the screen behind me. Proposed 15-16 budget includes just over $54 million in operating and capital expenditures and just over $50.6 million in revenues. Available fund balances are budgeted to be used and bonds will be issued to finance capital projects in 15-16. New general obligation debt budgeted in 15-16 is just over $3 million. General property tax excluding TIF, we raised just over $12.4 million for a total proposed city tax rate at $15.67 per $1,000 of valuation. In the general fund, revenues match expenditures. Just to be clear on that, we were originally slightly over, but with the changes made, revenues do match expenditures. On the following page, just provides a breakdown of where the money comes from. All city funds revenue sources, including capital projects, are broken out for the proposed budget for 15-16. Just kind of gives you an idea of where the money comes from. I'm not going to run through each of those. It's a graph and it's provided annually as well as the next two. On the next page, you'll see all city expenditures at just over $54 million, of course. Capital projects are budgeted at $13.4 million. Public Works, $2.5 million. General government, 2.4, just shy of $2.4 million. Enterprise at 15.8. Culture and recreation, 3.178. Community and economic development, 1.9. Public safety at 8.9, or 16% of the total budget, or total expenditures. On the following page, it shows a breakdown of the city's tax levy, which totals $1567,209. Largest portion of that being the general fund at $8.10. Debt service at $279, and special revenue $4.11. Tort liability and levy improvements. Following page provides a 10-year tax rate history. Good news, as we discussed during the budget process, the levy, has not been raised since the 2010-11 fiscal year. So for the past 6 years, we've been able to maintain a steady levy, given everything that's been, might I say, hurled at us. But we've been able to tackle quite a bit, and I appreciate everybody's efforts to help us achieve that goal. Proposed property tax rate will continue with the good news. Again, we note it, 1567, which same rate or for the past 6 years or lower. We've been able to maintain that tax rate with increases in obviously personnel costs, employee benefits, other operating costs, as well as the reduction in commercial and industrial property tax valuations based on the changes in state code last year. So we've seen a 10% reduction as of this next fiscal year. We've maintained the same tax rate for 15-16 with offsetting decreases in other levy, transit, tort, debt service levies, and other savings, including, if you recall, our change in insurance carriers, changing from in the change with our property tax insurance to ICAP, Iowa Community Insurance Pool. We had a substantial savings in the general fund and in all categories, enterprise funds as well. 15-16 property tax levy again reflects not funding 100% of the general fund employee benefits, from the employee benefits levy. We are using $192,959 of general fund employee benefits will be funded from the general fund instead of the levy. That equates to roughly 25 cents per $1,000 on the city tax rate. Following page simply provides a breakdown, again, different format of the proposed property tax levy. Not going to skip to the next page. We are not utilizing the emergency levy, which we discontinued in 2011, 2012 fiscal year. Proposed tax rate of 1567. A homeowner with a home valued at $100,000 will see an increase. That is roughly $20 a year, and that's due to the rollback and the state property tax changes that were instituted 2 years ago. However, commercial and industrial tax properties at that same amount of $100,000 will see a $79 decrease this next year, or a total of $157 decrease over that 2-year period. And there's more detailed in the budget presentation, in the budget book that was handed out. Additional computations. This reflects only, of course, the city's portion of the property owners' tax bills. Property tax bills include the county and the school district levies as well. And on the next page, you'll see a rough breakdown of those property taxes, city, county, and schools. Obviously, ours at the 1569, which is roughly 39% of the total combined levy. Following page, just a reminder, we've got more good news. Talked about this during the budget process. General fund ending balance as proposed June 30th of 2016 will be at 18.5% of general fund expenditures, which certainly is more than meets the minimum requirement at 16.7%, which we raised in 13 or 14 now?
13.
13, from 10%. Following paragraph has a comparison to ending fund balances in the last 6 years. Last year, or this year's 14-15 revised estimate is at 19.8%. However, the original target for the 14-15 budget was at 16.8%, so we've obviously come in at 3% higher. And for the proposed budget, we're at 18.5%, and that includes, if you recall, $148,000 expenditure for an ambulance, a one-time expenditure out of the fund balance. So even with that one-time expenditure, we're able to maintain 18.5% of general fund expenditures. Proposed general fund budget does continue current levels of service provided to residents in the community. Significant budget items and assumptions that we discussed during the budget process include the following items. Of course, the police and fire pension contributions, which totaled just over $1.35 million. That's been a $700,000 increase over 6 years. Was it 6 years?
That sounds right, yes.
And continues to be an issue that we hope to work with the legislature on in the future to tackle. However, that is at least the city's portion is projected to decrease over the next 25 years down to roughly 19-20% at the end of that 25-year period. Budget allows for a 2.5% increase in union and non-union wages. This next fiscal year, we do have an increase in deductible and out-of-pocket max that employees will take on as well as part of the second year of the contract. Following 3 years, we have 1% increases in premium the employee will be taking on. There's an increase in full-time FTE positions as proposed in the budget. The new full-time communications manager position, community services officer in the community development office for rental inspections. The art center increase going from 20 hours to 29 hours was included as well. And technically item number 4 is a 0.16 FTE increase in part-time hours at the library. However, That's over actual, not over budgeted. Over budgeted, it's actually a slight decrease in hours. On the next page, item number 4, 2015-16 TIF funds do continue to offset expenditures for city economic development, administrative expenses, legal costs, and our chamber contribution of $38,000. Budget continues subsidies for outside agencies, for Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Senior Resources, and the Humane Society. Those are budgeted at their current levels. MCSA's new allocation for the homeless prevention program is in the amount of $25,000. This was a commitment for 1-year funding for the program in this next fiscal year. Budget reflects continuing the CVB's allocation at 25%, or just over $103,000. We hope that revenue trend continues. We will be revisiting, council will see here shortly an updated contract, and we look to for the CVB to develop metrics going forward to help us to discover, determine how those, or where those revenue increases are, or how they're being generated. Budget continues funding contributions for the Equipment Replacement Fund, Computer Replacement Fund, for the equivalent needs for this next fiscal year. As we've tried to do historically, this budget does continue and is based on positioning the city to address future challenges, economic challenges, or shortfalls in revenue. We've done that through generating the higher general fund balance. Of course, we have identified options should the need arise, revenue decrease, or there be legislative changes that we need to meet in the coming months or years. Proposed budget is one that funds a balance between overall city property tax rate, maintaining a sufficient level of general fund balance, and providing departments with the resources and equipments needed to perform their department functions efficiently. The third and final year of the COPS grant funding will end in February-March timeframe of 2015. That is continued. The program is continued through that next fiscal year, and of course, the agreement with the city and the school district was on a few weeks back. 15-16 budget includes assigned funding allocation of $12,300 for a merit program for non-union employees. Take them from the midpoint of the range to the maximum of the grade range through and only through merit. 15-16 budget does have a significant number of building and facility costs to propose to be funded in the June 16 bond issuance. The HVAC project at the Art Center, roof replacements at the library, public safety building, tuck pointing at the Art Center, playground surface at Musser Park, and riprap along the riverfront and at the slough. There are rate increases, sewer and collection and drainage fees do increase this next fiscal year per the 2013 resolution setting rates. We typically do that over a 5-year, that was a 5-year period, right? Or a 3-year period, 5-year period.
Yeah.
Correct. We are proposing in the budget, transit fares have an increase from 75 cents a ride to $1 a ride for route buses and $1 a ride to $2 a ride for shuttle rides. Transit fares were last increased in 2003. Boat harbor fees do increase by 2.5% with a non-resident fee added for the 2015 boating season. Fees are not budgeted to increase in other funds, including the transfer station, landfill, refuse, golf, ambulance, airport, and parking. Accumulated deficit in the landfill fund is budgeted to be eliminated in 15-16, and a $283,000 positive balance projected in that fund balance. Again, more good news. We certainly appreciate the landfill committee's efforts over the past several years on that project. Enterprise operating funds now all have balanced budget with positive balance projected for each fund. Novel concept. On the next page, capital projects summary. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but we do have, as noted earlier, just over $13.4 million in capital projects for this next fiscal year. The largest being street-related projects, airport improvement projects at $4.3 million, the HVAC project, of course, that was noted earlier. These projects will be funded from grants, local option sales tax, sewer reserve funds, and general obligation bond proceeds. And on the last page of the PowerPoint, as discussed during the budget review process, due to the property tax legislation enacted in 2013, taxable valuations are projected to see minimal or negative growth over the next 10 years. That's something that we will certainly be looking to address going forward. Future assumptions include state maintaining the backfill, and from everything we've heard, that continues to be the case in Des Moines via our legislators. Police and fire pension contributions will continue to be a significant cost for the city. 25-year projections, so pension rates of at least 27% through 2020, and incremental decreases down to 20% in 2037. IDOT and legislative rules may impact future automatic ATE camera revenues. We haven't seen additional legislation to date. There was an early bill. I haven't heard any additional news on that, nor on a topic just below that with tax increment financing and the issue of annual appropriations. We have not seen that legislation come forward to date. With that, I guess a couple items, mainly thank yous. I would like to thank the mayor and council. I'd like to thank city staff and the preparation and review of the budget. I think it was a good session, good input. I think city staff brought forward good budgets this year, made the process much easier. Appreciate working with city council through the budget review process. I think it was a good team effort and really an excellent budget going forward. And then a special thank you to Nancy and Nancy's team, as well as Fran, in helping put together the budget book. And with that, I'd answer any questions, or Nancy and I can answer any questions.
I think it's a good budget, and we'll get the official published one out in the next month or so.
Just
and it
repeat
was-
your thanks to Nancy and the staff, the different departments for their part in it.
Thank you, Scott.
Anyone else, council? Okay, as noted, this is a public hearing, so now would be the time for the public to comment. Motion to close?
So moved.
Tom, and a second?
Second.
Second, Osama. And we've already done the discussion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion carries 6-0. Item number 3, which is related to 1, is a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the 2014-2015 city budget. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Osama?
Second.
And a second, Mike. Any discussion? This is a roll call, beginning with Osama.
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Bob?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item number 4, which also is a public hearing concerning the adoption of the budget and certification of taxes for fiscal year 2015-2016. Is there a motion to that effect?
So move.
Bob, and a second?
Second.
Second, Tom. Any discussion? Back to a voiced vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item 5 is a resolution approving the adoption of the budget and certification for taxes for fiscal year 2015-2016. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Osama, and a second?
Second.
Second, Scott. Any discussion? Beginning with Osama.
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Bob?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item 6 is a proposed ordinance amendment concerning outdoor dining and public right-of-way. Guys, look who's here. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Mayor.
Then recognize.
You look nice tonight. Thank you. You have an event after the council meeting or something?
No, my wife and daughter thought I should dress a little nicer tonight.
By example.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of council. Tonight we'll be discussing outdoor dining on the public right-of-way. As you may recall, in March of 2014, City Council approved an outdoor dining on public right-of-way pilot program. This pilot program, which was good for 1 year, allowed for downtown restaurants to place seating on public sidewalks, as well as on platforms placed on on-street parking spots. This was done to achieve two things. One was to assist with Muscatine's certification as a Blue Zones community, and the second was to further a number of goals contained within the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2013. We structured this as a pilot program in order to determine if such a program would be in the best interest of Muscatine, and also to allow for a year's worth of experience to accumulate before we went and wrote any permanent changes to city code. In 2014, we had 4 restaurants participate in it. 2 of them had on-street dining platforms. Boonies, Guadalajara both had dining that was placed on platforms that were placed out on on-street parking spots. And then Avenue Subs and Salvatore's had basic tables and chairs out on the sidewalk. The feedback that we received on this has been overwhelmingly positive. And based on this, staff has prepared an ordinance making the necessary changes to city code to make this a permanent program. In drafting these proposed changes to city code, which you should all have a copy of, the aim was to keep this as close as possible to what we did in the pilot program, with making a few changes that I'm going to go over here that was based on what happened. One would be clear guidelines requiring that visibility along a sidewalk be maintained through any sidewalk cafe. And basically what this means is as you're coming down the sidewalk, you're able to see through any sidewalk cafe to what's beyond that. Second, at the request of our Public Works Department, we're going to require that on-street dining platforms be removed no later than October 15th instead of on Halloween, as we previously had. Each application, which will be required annually, will be adopted by council by resolution. And prior to this, a written notice will be sent to all surrounding property owners prior to approval. And I think that was actually the biggest lesson that we learned, is have more robust communication to the surrounding property owners before these pop up on the streets. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have on this.
Adam, was that visibility thing, was that an issue with any of them? Or is it
Yeah,
just
there was a couple that on the sidewalks there, we had some comments where the way they were set up, people didn't like that you couldn't see past the restaurant and to what's the businesses and things beyond, so.
Are these changes with collaboration with the restaurants?
Yeah,
Did we discuss that? I mean,
we
as
had a
committee,
meeting with the restaurant owners, I believe, last month and went over with them, and they were all happy with it.
I see the
Neighboring
changes from,
property.
I'm sorry, Tom.
I'm sorry, and the neighboring property owners?
They were invited, none of them came, so.
I just want to go back to that, from October 31st to October 15, that they need to disassemble the platform and this. How about if we have a good Indian summer? It's like the golf course, we're supposed to close on November 15, and if the weather permits, they go all the way to the end of November. Is there a possibility that if the weather allows, that that will continue through the end of October or early November? Or is that a set date that they need to disassemble the platform?
The way we're proposing it, but I mean, you know, this is proposal, and certainly this would be the time to get council's input on that. The feedback we got from Public Works is that they were kind of uncomfortable with having them up into late October because they could potentially have to plow, and so they requested that we bump that back. So that's why we did that, but certainly open to council's wishes on that, obviously.
I'm just asking,
We could certainly
you know
put
what
some
I mean?
language in
It's-
there that would allow for some discretion for that time frame. I mean, the biggest concern is getting it off the street. Should we have a snowstorm, being able to plow and get in there, and we could put some discretionary language in there concerning the weather and approval. We did have some issues getting them taken down in a timely fashion, and we want to make sure we address that going forward.
And that's the other thing, by setting the October 15th deadline, you can probably be sure that likelihood that it may extend a little beyond that,
I
so.
understand. I'm not comparing it apples to apples when I compare it to the golf course, you know, you don't have to do anything there, but weather permitting, that's the only.
No,
side.
but
It would
we
be
could
nice
look
to
at-
be outside if the weather is nice, 70 degrees still around
No,
that
I-
time, so.
And we have had that, several years ago, we had the golf course open through December 15th, gorgeous weather. I mean, it just
Sure.
depends on the year.
But you don't have to remove anything from the
Yeah,
golf
that's right.
course
That's right.
in order to plow.
Sure. I understand.
Well, and that's the issue with some of these on-street ones, they take a day or two to disassemble, so.
But they do come down pretty quickly. They're all in sections. They come apart pretty easily, so it doesn't
We
take
could-
that
I
much
mean,
time.
we could draft language that would, allow it staff discretion, say based on a forecast to extend that deadline.
Good idea.
Based on a request or something.
I think everything I heard personally here, I think it has been positive, and I wish some other restaurants take advantage of that and have more and more of it, though. So I thought it's a good thing to have, so.
Yeah, the only negatives I heard was you're losing parking places down in the downtown area. But
the ones that go into the street.
There is language in the proposed ordinance that deals with that. I mean, you could end up with too much of a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Regarding this, and that there is language that covers those provisions in there, and, this, but it's only appropriated in certain locations, so we'll have to take a look at it, and if they have sidewalks, at least if they have wide sidewalks, we may want to look at doing something a little bit different, so.
Yeah, I think we all need to acknowledge that this is a permitted activity.
Right.
It's not just anybody can go out and throw some chairs on the sidewalk. There's an application process, there are standards, and we allow it to happen.
And not only that, it has to be approved by you through resolution.
Right.
And it's annually, so that allows it to be handled on a case-by-case manner, so that should keep some control over it.
Any other comments or questions, council?
Good thing.
Very good, Andrew, and you look very nice tonight. Thank you. Okay, item number 7 is a request to approve street closure and detour route. Is there a motion to approve that request as submitted?
So move.
Mike?
Second.
And a second, Tom. Any discussion? Everyone's looked over the material and understands the street and so forth. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item number 8, time for comments. Council members, Councilman Raywalt,
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Phil,
nothing at all.
Scott,
I have nothing, thank you, Mayor.
Osama,
I have nothing, thank you.
Bob,
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Tom,
Nothing this evening, Your Honor?
Greg.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Were you
Fran?
gonna ask me? No, I haven't got anything, Your Honor.
Nothing? Okay, and I have nothing, so any other business, council?
Okay, John,
Motion to adjourn by Osama.
thank you.
Meeting is adjourned.
Well, I've got a 9 o'clock, but I'll be in.